This has always been connecting. I'm talking to Shahrazz. Shahrazz, you obviously have a really solid knowledge of markets and marketing. Where has that come from? Tell me a little bit about your background first.
So my background is really growing up in retail. So I've always been involved in retail, and that's where I grew my career, and being in UK retail. And I was very, very fortunate very early on in my career to get very senior positions and move on.
Yeah.
And then
what's some EGs? Where were you working?
I was working originally for British Home Stores, which was this big old-fashioned
job.
And I was a store manager, and I was very lucky to be the store manager of one of the biggest stores. And then I ended up from there, I went into shoe retailing, and I was in shoes for a little while. From there, so I think one of the good experiences, I've transferred my skill set into different fields of retail. I then worked for many years in optics. So I worked for a very big chain called Optical Express, and we grew that, and Vision Express, which are well-known names. And then I was fortunate enough to be headhunted to go and open up Vision Express franchise stores in the Middle East. So I moved to the Middle East for 2 years. So that was my first intake into the international market. And I lived in the Middle East for about 2.5 years, opened up many Vision Express stores in places like Saudi Arabia, which was an amazing diverse country that people don't really know about, but it was changing dramatically. Kuwait, Dubai, obviously everyone's heard of, UAE, and then obviously Qatar. So I did that for 3 years. And then when I wanted to come home, I got a job in finance, and it was basically foreign exchange finance. So I did that role, and that helped me get to the USA. So I did that role. I was Northern Europe director for a while. And then I ended up going to working in New York. I got asked to go and look after New York for a short period, and ended up staying for 2 years.
Ooh.
So I ended up living in Manhattan, which was very fantastic. It was like my dream. But obviously American retailing in that side of finance was very challenging, but obviously very rewarding. And then from there, my partner wanted to move to Glasgow, and then this job with Collins came up. So I started working for Collins. I moved from London up to Scotland, and that's where I've been ever since, really, mainly in Scotland. And then I ended up being on the other side of the curve of not being a front-end retailer, being a manufacturer and trademark holder. So that was quite a new skill set for me to learn. And I was very fortunate to be starting in the role as MD for the UK business. And the CEO, who was based in Singapore at the time, gave me a great opportunity to really transform the business. We were very much known as the diary company, which we are, and diaries are still key to our business success.
Yeah.
But it meant that I had a different view compared to people who'd been in my role previously. I had the retail background of what do retail stores look for, what are consumers looking for. I also knew online was going to be key for us, so I really grew our online business, and that was my key focus for the UK business as well. So if you think I've had a career in fashion, of shoes, optics, so healthcare. So in the optics business, we even looked after dental and did laser eye surgery. So I had quite a varied career. So I suppose
sounds like you did like a 10-year gap year business around the world, see how everything works.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But it gave me great depth of different cultures, different environments, and respect of that environment, because
different markets,
you can't mirror one market for the other because of the differences in each country and the different diversity in those countries. You've got to really adapt yourself of what's working in that marketplace. So, the skill set we knew in the Middle East, and certainly when we were putting posters up in say someone like Saudi Arabia, you've got to avoid body contact or body images. You have to learn and adapt, and you learn and adapt that messaging. So you end up, if you're a lifestyle brand, you want to show imagery of people wearing the product or wearing the sunglasses, but in that particular country you couldn't. So you had to then adapt whatever marketing materials you got from, say, someone like Chanel would be very particular about how they want their marketing. You had to discuss with them about, well, this won't work for this market, but we'll have to do this, but not still respecting and keeping the onus of the brand alive.
Where did this come from? Who were you as a kid that got to such a varied career? It sounds quite quickly. Were you interested in certain things growing up? How things worked? What's kind of like the origin story?
I think it was because I come from a large family, and I was the youngest of 6 children. So I think I had to find my voice to be heard in that family. So I think that gave me the connection of I want to get involved with people. And then I think the passion really came from a Saturday job. My parents were very good to us. And they said, look, if you guys want extra pocket money, you're going to have to get a job. So at 16, that was when I first worked in the supermarket. And I loved interacting with people. I think it was the people aspect that really got me interested. And I loved seeing the various people. And those days on checkouts were very different to today. And it was really about connecting. And you really recognized that you were connecting with somebody that probably hasn't spoken to anyone all day. And it was really good to feel that connection with people. And then because I was young and I was happy to work late nights, and in those days in retail, I'm not going to show my age, but those days in retail, late night shopping wasn't really a thing, and supermarkets in those days didn't open late. But when we started opening late and Sundays, I mean, I got an extra allowance for working Sunday, which would be unheard of today in supermarkets. The manager decided that I could look after the checkouts. Even though I was only 16, I was a supervisor because I was quick. That gave me the interest in management. And I think when I went back to my parents and said, I want to be a manager in retail, they both said, no, you need to go to university, you need to do this. But I chose a different career path. I chose retail and grew very well. So I think although I didn't have that formal training that people would have done, I took a different route and it worked really well for me. I'm not recommending that for everybody because obviously an education is really important to have, but I think it helped me to get where I am.
Well, like, in retrospect, as older in the business, like, we now know that connecting with people is central to
absolutely.
everything that we do. So what a beautiful thing to gravitate towards early on.
Yeah, so I've always been fascinated by connecting with people, and that's really, really been important to me all the time. And being a senior manager, you have to always respect people, and the job role has changed. It's become much, much more relaxed than it used to be in my day when you were a young manager. You always called your bosses Mr. or Mrs. You weren't allowed to address them, and you weren't allowed to discuss. Thankfully, the world has changed now and it's becoming much more inclusive and much more focused, but that's great. But I've seen the other side of it and come through the other end, as it were.
Yeah, sure. So, like, let's fast forward to your current role. And so you are producing notebooks.
That's correct.
And this was born out of post-COVID situation. Do you want to talk about a little bit how you got in that position and sort of where the idea came from?
The idea came from Collins is a 206 years old brand, and we were known as the diary people. And in the marketplace, there's lots of notebooks in the world. Everyone and anyone wants to have a notebook and has that style. So when I became the ultimate boss, I decided that we needed to go on a journey to find the right tools to help us grow that part of the business. So we created the brand Jumble Co. The reason we created a new brand, not made it an offshoot of Collins, is we felt that the younger generation would gravitate more to a different brand. So we engaged with a marketing agency to come up with a concept. They came up with the initial concept, and the first concept was really about the bright colors and making it sustainable and focusing on that. That started before I became the boss, and then I decided to elevate that. So we did some market research, and because obviously I'd been through COVID like everybody else has, and your mental health did struggle. As I said, I like connecting with people, not having that interaction with your staff. Even though Teams and all these wonderful tools and Zooms were great tools, they didn't stop you from being face-to-face with somebody. They never made up for that. And I felt that we needed something. I also felt that we as a business needed to attract a younger generation of people that were going to be loyal to our brand and our business. So what are they looking for? Well, they're looking for sustainability, and that was a key part of the functionality of the product. The great thing for us, having a paper-based product already gives you sustainability, but we wanted to make it recycled paper. So we did loads of research to find the perfect recycled paper that was right, because we're still a very traditional brand who have to really focus on quality. So we manufactured our own recycled paper through factories through China and got the quality that we wanted rather than off-the-shelf recycled paper, because a lot of recycled paper is quite rough. And if you get lucky enough to have one of our journals, you'll see that the paper is very smooth and writes really well. That was really important. The second element was I didn't want it just to be a notebook. I wanted to be able to give people accessibility to tools. So we engaged an agency and we realized that mental health was growing and people were struggling with their mental health, specifically among the younger generation who didn't have the benefits of going through their latter years of school or university, how we're disconnecting from where they were probably going to build up fresh friendships for life, like I had done through my school or going through business. Those people were missing out on that. So we engaged with an agency and launched the first range of the Jumble Co products. And one of the key focuses, having done personally mindfulness myself, mindfulness journal was really important. So we engaged an agency to do the market research. And we actually found an agency in Australia because we felt that Australians were actually more focused on stationery than the UK.
Okay.
So we picked an agency in Australia who did all the research and came up with all the designs. And that's how we ended up with the product that we have today, by doing the research. And now we have almost 7 journals ranging from mindfulness to the gym to relationships. And those journals are accessible because the price point, we wanted to ensure that the price point was kept accessible too, so that there wasn't this high-end product that they could maybe aspire to own. They can own that and have 3 or 4 journals and it'd be a very reasonable price. But also for the generation, it was sustainable. It was made from recycled paper. They could come and go to it. So it wasn't every day. They could use it when they're required to use that tool, or parents could buy it for their children saying, here's a mindfulness journal when you require it, manifestation journal, here's a gratitude and thankful journal, and use it. And it could be a great gifting tool for other friends to do. And that's how it all came about, because the younger generation now are more open about their mental health, which is fantastic. But I think we also need to provide them with tools, and we wanted to provide people with tools to be able to use that product. And that's what happened.
I think it's amazing that there was such a focus on the pre-work, the research, the finding out about
Yeah.
your target market. I want to find out how that was structured, and also like your parent company. What was the support like? Was it structured from them, or was it recommendations from the team at large?
Yeah, look, so we are a very close-knit team. So Collins and Jumble Co, it's the same management team, myself in charge. We basically spoke to all our departments, whether it's people from our UK team and our Australian team. What are we looking in the market? We got loads of samples of journals, mental health journals, loads of research. And we then looked at what would be better for us, what would be focused for us. So colors were really important for us, the bright colors and the focus to see, well, that will attract somebody on the shelf, but even online, it would attract them because it's not just the plain black diary or plain blue cover. So the design element was really important too. So not only was the inside element important, the outside design element was really, really important. And the two minds concept was created that we can be organized in one bit, but we can be messy in the other bit. So, even our notebooks are designed that there's structured lines, but then there's dotted and plain for you to doodle and scribble, because we have that, the right side and left side of our brain. We want to be good, but we also want to be crazy at times and focus on different things. So that's the concept that came out. And that took a while for the agency to come back and present different concepts of what was out there in the marketplace and what was required in the marketplace by them conducting market research with people. And that's what happened, really. I'm not an expert in market research. I can rely on the data that came back. And what it came back was that people do want to have that tool, but they want it to be accessible and fun. It's got to be less serious on the outside so it looks nice and they can use it, more functionality. And that's where it came from. So it took a long time.
Sure.
Took us about a year to get the product to where we wanted to, and then probably another 6 months before it actually went into manufactured and before we launched it. So the whole journey's been about 2 years so far.
And as someone who has a business that is focused on design and that kind of element of it, how things make people feel, what was your learnings about the importance of design?
I think the importance of design was finding agent. The reason being, we're a small team, and we found that going to an agency was a real good business tool for us to use, because they were employing young graduates, young focus. So you were getting your product designed by people who are going to buy your product. And that was the key learning that we had, that we used to have, when I first became the boss, we used to have a big in-house team. Now, that was great. But the thing is, they're only exposed to the small environment of Singapore. Singapore is a great city. Our head office is in Singapore, but they're not exposed to the wider markets, and they're not exposed to the next generation of people coming in and what they're looking for. So finding an agency that would be recruiting young people, young graduates, and getting them to create the product that would be functionality for our younger generation was the key. I would say the real good thing of winning and doing this process was that is you are getting young designers designing products that you want to sell to other young people. And that's better than something that somebody who may have had 30 years in our industry. We do have editors who've worked for us for 30 years, but they won't know what the new trends are. They would only know what the historic products we are. So that was important for me to do. And it was challenging, of course. You're going out external, but I think everybody in the business has now seen the benefit of that and loves the product. So I think when I first started this journey, it was very much like, oh no, this is maybe not the right thing. We're using external people, but it's probably been the best thing. And now we will continue to use the external agencies. We will continue to use external agencies. We now even use an external agency for the Collins fashion diaries, because it's again, we want to attract the younger generation of diary users. We want to keep all our existing customers very happy with our traditional stuff that we do and practical business stuff that we do, but we do need the younger generation. And the younger generation are turning to diaries and writing things down much more. There's a real trend of returning to nostalgia. If you look, record players are back in fashion again. People want to...
Yeah, I've been looking for a record player.
So, you know, if you think about that, that trend is here to stay. People are missing the connection. And I think it's both it's a connection of placing a record. Now, digital is so amazing, and we can have digital music through different speaker systems that are very costly but actually sound amazing. But that nostalgia of going back and putting a record player on is a trend that's come back amongst the youngsters, of that wanting to connect, that we felt that they wanted to connect again.
And what are we finding out about Gen Z that they've, or Z, that they like design, that they like sustainability, that they have a focus on mental health? Are those the key ones?
Yeah, they're the key three things that we had to do. They were the key three things that came up that Generation Z wants, and we provided that. So we've got that. It's focused. The notebooks are focused on mental health. Now, there's hundreds of notebooks in the marketplace, but ours are focused on mental health. They're 100% recyclable, made out of 100% recycled paper, cover and inside, and it gives us a really good tool for them to use.
And it doesn't sound like a cynical cash grab, or you put the work in and you wanted to create something that was useful.
That's correct. Yeah.
In marketing, as we often find that there's a business message, and then there's the market, and we're always trying to like translate, convert. But I love the sort of it starting with the market.
Yeah.
And designing it for them. And I think it's just a step that's so often missed out by businesses. Where does sort of more modern business practices come in? Like, is there AI in your business? Are those things things that Gen Z want or need?
Yeah, see, the thing is, for us, we're a pen to paper company, so AI technology is definitely here to stay. Do we use AI in our business? Not right now, we don't. But of course, as technology improves, we probably will. But it'll be a tool that we use as an additional feature, maybe to save some administrative time. It's not something we would use AI to design anything specific, because I think you're then missing our human element. So I think we'd always want to reach out and get agencies involved. Now, they may use tools for AI to help create the image, but I think it's important for us to remain grounded that until technology improves, we're going to still keep it focused on design and everything else. We run 2 competitions globally that are part of the Collins Debney Award. We run one with the Glasgow School of Art, based in Glasgow, and we just completed one with Billy Blue here, the design university here, and we're given an opportunity for a youngster to design our design. So this year in 2027, next year, there'll be a diary sold by the winner of the Billy Blue competition. So that's really important for us. So that part will always remain, that we want humans designing stuff. Now, whether they use those tools to come up with their concept or ideas is fine for them, but ultimately we want that people connection.
And beautifully engaging.
Yeah, it's been really great.
Supporting, and it's not just for them, but it's supporting.
Yeah, exactly. And I was really fortunate to be at the prize giving last week, And the student who won, she was so happy, and she's going to be amazed that her products will then be sold in London. They'll be in shops in Dubai. They'll be in New York. They'll be everywhere. So this student is now going to have their work that will help them in the future. It'll be a great portfolio. Same with the Glasgow School of Art. We've been running the Collins Debden Award for the last 3 years. And again, those students have really benefited from that. And we've given them a stepping stone. It's a part of us giving something back and still benefiting the group too, because we're getting these amazing independent designs that maybe an agency couldn't create. So it's really important for us. So it's really good that we have that agency element, but we also have this competition running between the two.
You also have a connection with Lifeline in that there's donations that you make to them. I'm going to assume that there was a collaboration as well.
Yeah, Lifeline have been very supportive of us, and we're very, very fortunate to have an amazing business like Lifeline supporting us. And given the donations is only the small part of the process, we want to be involved in Lifeline. We are in the starting of our journey, and they came and supported us during the launch of Jumble Co, the PR launch that we did here in Australia in September. And it's really good to have their support. And I think that's down to the fact that they understand the products that we've created with their support and guidance, that they're actually working and they're a useful tool for people to use. They're doing an amazing job around the whole of Australia, and they have so much dedication from their volunteers and stuff. And we would be more than happy to donate stuff for their volunteers so they can use the same tools as the customers who are buying it. And doing the donation is probably the small part of that relationship. That's probably the smallest part of that relationship. Our focus is to grow our partnership with them and see where we can help, whether that is donating free things to schools or free things to their volunteers. So we will continue to build on that relationship. And I'm seeing the Lifeline people on Wednesday and going to one of their events. And so we will support each other where we can. And it's really nice to have an Australian business being part of that, because, we are still very much focused on Australia as well as a business, because it's the biggest part of our business here.
What I'm getting from you is that you're somebody who very gracefully dots the I's and crosses the T's.
Yeah.
And does all the hard work, doesn't cut corners.
No.
And it's very admirable, but I also want to know how, without burning out, without tripping yourself up, how do you have that cohesive big picture?
Well, I tell you, the way I do is by being present in the market. So I come to Australia. I'm very fortunate. I come to Australia 4 times a year or 5 times a year to visit the team, go with them to their customers, see what's happening in the marketplace. So that gives you something that you can't get off a call. My predecessor, he came once a year and just did an annual CEO visit. I do 4. The poor team in Australia have me here quite a lot. But same in the UK. When I go back to the UK, I don't just base myself within Singapore. Singapore is where our head office is and where we're listed on the stock exchange, but I need to be there. The other thing we do is we have an inclusive part. So any design we do, any new product, we involve everybody from all the markets. So the UK team will be on the call. Our Australian team will be on the call. They hate the time zone difference at times, but they have to adapt because we're a global company. But ultimately, we get the feedback and we listen to what their feedback is. When the design agencies come up with a design, the head of marketing will present to myself and we'll present to the team, but we get their buy-in and we get their things. So that's really important, because that helps, that grounds you, that you might think that's an amazing design, but your actual team go, actually, that's not going to work, or I've seen that design before. Maybe we should change it this way or that way. Or could it be something different? That's really important. I think getting the feedback is really important. That probably keeps me grounded, is getting the team's feedback.
Is that what you is that your secret, like empowering the team to like get the things done whilst you're sort of looking at the bigger picture, listening, seeing what's going on?
That's exactly it. That's it. There's no mystery to what I do. It is really getting the feedback, empowering them. If they believe in it, they'll sell it. If they believe in it, that's the key. Like, if you can convince people it's the right thing because it's their idea and they've been part of the journey, they will be very supportive of that, rather than being that dictator of, this is the designs we've decided and you're going to need to go and sell them. This is what we're doing. getting their buy-in, getting their participation, getting their valuable feedback is key. And that I've been doing that probably in all my career from day one of working on the checkouts back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Did that, always waiting for feedback from people, and that helps you a lot. And I think in business, I think getting your team members involved, whether it's the management or below the management, is really key and crucial as well, because they're the ones on the front line. You may miss things, so getting their feedback, getting their buy-in is key.
And what are your boundaries? Because at today, this week, I am back on the tools and headphones on, doing my editing, and don't have too much bandwidth to respond to the team at their detriment.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of it. So, like, do you know that what your boundaries are to be able to empower the team with those things?
Yeah, I
you've
think you
learned?
have to set the boundaries, and those boundaries can change depending on a project or what you're working on. But you have to have the boundaries, because ultimately you need to have that control to be able to say, no, thank you for your feedback, but this is the direction we're going to. So you do create those boundaries for yourself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you've got to focus on ultimately what your role is. Your role is to grow the business, keep everyone's jobs safe and secure, and ultimately driving sales for the business, because ultimately we're a shareholding company. We have shareholders that we have to satisfy, and you need that process all coming together to remind yourself that there is an ultimate goal here as well for the company. Because if we don't do well, then there isn't career progression, there isn't new products being launched. So you do ground yourself to think, well, yeah, I value everyone's opinion, but we also have to move forward.
So there's a difference between letting someone make mistakes or letting someone try something and knowing that isn't a company goal.
That's right.
Have you got any examples? Or
Well, look,
sort
the
of-
examples are there's always going to be someone who will say, I think we should do this type of diary. And you go, okay, fine, but let's do the market research. Is there really a market for that?
Sure.
And they
Show me the receipts.
Show me where that is. And also, is it in line with our brand guidelines? Is it in line with what we're trying to achieve as a brand? And that process, people get very passionate about, well, I've got it, and I want to do this. But I rather do something correctly and for the right reasons than just because somebody's got a win, because somebody might have said, oh, I use this type of a tradie diary, for example, which everyone will know in Australia. But, we don't do a specific product for tradie diaries. We do products that are very useful for all businesses, but we don't go to that level to say it's a tradies diary. So that example was, now we're doing the research and that person's gone back and done the research. But if we'd just gone ahead and done it, we would have probably ended up with a product that we would have produced that didn't sell, and then we'd be writing it off. And maybe we would have written off and said, we're not going to do that concept again.
Yeah.
And then, but maybe that was unfair, because if we'd done the research and got the right product, could it be more successful? So it's finding that balance and reminding people that we're still ultimately a business. We want to give people tools, but we still have to sell the product. We still have to generate income from that product.
Yeah. And don't rush into new products. Have you got like a sort of schedule, like a
Yeah, we
product a
do.
year
Look,
or
for Jumble
something?
Co, we've just refreshed and added new ranges, but we'll do that every 2 years, because if you bring in new products all the time, you are just confusing your end loyal consumer. You need to be able to think, right, that's worked, we'll keep that on. That's not worked, we change it. Jumble Co will next year just run as it is with the 7 health journals and mindfulness journals. All those journals will remain the same. The new colors have come in, but in 2 years' time, we'll refresh that. What that refresh will be like, we don't know yet. We'll do some research and we'll adapt what we've got, and we'll enhance the existing products with all the feedback we've got from consumers and seeing how it is. And then definitely we'll get new colors in again, So that's really been part of the selling point of Jumble Co, the bright colors, the synergy between those colors, and what that really means. Everything about that product tells a story.
And what's your long-term goal, personal goal?
My personal goal, because wanted Jumble Co to be more focused on mental health, is seeing it available everywhere and growing as a brand just as much as the Collins brand has grown. I want to see that as being a focus tool for people to use in years and years to come. And if that can happen and we can get the success that we have with our Collins brand, then I would probably say that would be my ultimate goal. And I could retire and feel very happy that at least I had. And getting the younger generation into the diaries, which we're currently doing with our new fashion diaries, our collaboration with Billy Blue, our collaboration with the Glasgow School of Art. If I can see those really benefiting and the younger generation are using a really useful tool of a diary, then I think that would be my pinnacle, that we did the right thing. We adapted as a business, we transformed, but we've got a new young generation of diary users. And those diary users aren't going to be like our old business users. It's going to be a way of coming away from the digital world, writing something down that's personal to them maybe. It may not be used for appointments. It could be used for, I had a tough day today, and putting their things. So diaries are equally a tool that can be used for mental health, because writing something down, your frustrations or your goals or ambitions, keeps it in mind for you. And that's something that we've recognized with the new diary users, that they're not using it to say, I've got an appointment today at 10 or 11. They're using it for different things. So adapting a product to give people the functionality that they're looking for from their product is really the success I want to see. So if that happens in years to come, then I'll be very happy.
And I've had a look, and I'm definitely a fan. I think I'm going to treat the team to Jumble Co diaries for the new year. And I'm 44, so I'm not your target market, but
Everybody's our target market. When it comes to mental health, everybody's a target market. Although these products are designed for the younger generation, it doesn't stop anybody picking that up and using it. It's really about anybody can use those health journals, and we encourage everybody to use them if required.
Yeah,
And
a
seek
beautiful
help.
thing to have on your desk.
Yeah.
Like something that a young designer has brought into the world.
Yeah, exactly. And those designers were present at our PR event in Sydney, and they were so happy to see the products live, because they don't physically see them for a while, because it takes so long. The process was so long that they didn't actually see them physically in print. And I think it's so nice to see those designers so excited to see their products and going, I created that blue and green, I created that color.
Yeah.
It's really important. It's so nice to see.
And where can people find your diaries?
They can find them on Jumble & Co online, or they can find them in many of the retailers, from Nextra stores to other stores. They're available in a few of these stores. But you can always go on the Collins Debden website and order them directly.
And if people want to connect with you?
Yeah, I've got a LinkedIn profile. They can connect directly with me anytime. So I'm always open to new ideas, new opportunities. As a business, we have to be.
Shahrazz, I'm really inspired by you, and I think I'm going to go and do some research and see the bigger picture, and maybe delegate some tools to someone else.
Yeah, honestly, these tools are going to be useful, and Collins is a really good company, and we still sell millions of diaries globally, and we will continue to do so. But Jumble & Co is really a really important part of our growth. And it's going to continue on, and we're going to see that continuing on. And the lifestyle products that we'll bring in later on is really important to us.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for your time.